cannot stand people that provide homes to people, but they don't maintain the property and the property looks like shit. Who's witness, first of all? A podcast. What the hell do I want to go talk on YouTube for? That's what I do. I don't invent. I don't create cool products. I copy the good guys and I do it better, either as good or better. And I thought, oh, parents don't love me, or why are they being so full of rubbish? But everyone has circumstances. Everyone has a degree of adversity, some worse than others. Some do have a head start, some don't. Sorry to say, that is life. I'm going to piss off some people, but that is life. You can't control that. You've given the hand that you dealt. But complaining about it isn't going to make you successful. It isn't going to make you have a big impact on others. It isn't going to have an effect on your life. We all make mistakes. We're all going to do stupid things and good things. But you must be proud of who you are at that stage of your life when you do eventually go.
Yeah. Okay, guys, welcome to the It's More Than Just Money Movement channel. You are on the It's More Than Just Money podcast, and I'm sitting here with Dean Oliver, who is an entrepreneur. He is a property investor and is also a businessman. His profile says he's worked for 16 years, and this guy looks 20 to me. And we'll get into his story just to understand exactly what he did in those 16 years and how he was able to build the portfolio that he's built. He's one of the finalists for the South African Property Investors Network on the Investor of the Year award. So I'm going to be chatting to him about that as well, and a whole lot of other things that we think are going to add value to your life. Dean, good to have you here, brother.
Yeah, lekker, man.
And congratulations on the nomination.
No, thank you.
Do you think you're going to win tomorrow?
Definitely, of course. Of course I'm going to win.
You know what's interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
I asked Bruce if he's gonna win. He's like, nah, I'm the kind of guy who's not gonna have ego. And in my mind, I'm like, you gotta have some ego. And then there's you. You definitely have an ego. It's like I've got two extremes of guys. He's on the one end, you on the other end. What makes you think you're gonna win?
So before I'm not arrogant, and I am an incredibly humble person, as you'll get to know. I don't see it as ego. The way I look at it is that if you don't believe in yourself and you don't believe you have value and you're not good enough, how do you expect anyone else to?
Sure.
And that's the way I look at it. So I'm not going there just to pitch up. I'm going there to win. I know I've given my all in the stuff that I do and the deals that I do and the way I give back to the community. Yeah, I'm going there to win. Dress to impress, go there to win. Obviously, if I don't, it's an exceptional honor to be a finalist. That's fantastic. And I'm going to meet a lot of like-minded people. So that's the thing. Even if I do lose and whoever wins, obviously I'm happy with whoever wins because everyone in the categories they're great investors. But just being around like-minded people and other skilled people, you get so much value out of that. You learn, you pick their brain for the evening. And we all get to dress up.
Yeah.
So nice to dress up, look your best, see your partner look their best. So I'm really going to take in the evening because it's also very easy. Like you get nominated for an award like this and then you focus so much on the award and what's going to be said. And if you win and that the whole evening passes you by and you don't actually have those good dinner chats with like-minded, successful people. So, yeah. So we're winning either way. Everyone's going to win tomorrow night. Let's actually be honest about that.
Interesting. Everyone's gonna win.
Yes.
So either way, even if you didn't win, there's something that you're taking away with you.
Yeah.
And I like that mindset. And more especially on what you just said, that if you don't believe in yourself, nobody is actually gonna believe in you. And it says a lot about your background and where you come from and how you've been taught and socialized. Where does that come from? And tell me more, man, a little bit about your background.
So I think I can do it a little different. So I think the self-belief comes from my family heritage and my grandfather. Yeah. So my surname's...
Must I tell them that when you walked in, I said, you look Chinese?
my grandfather is not Chinese. I've got a bit of Greek and English and Afrikaans heritage. But my grandfather had a a belief that a man's surname or a man's name means a lot, and you should be proud of it. Whatever you do, whatever industry or whatever you're involved in, you must be incredibly proud of your name. And he drilled it into us grandchildren and his sons and his daughter that the name Oliver means something important. Again, not in an arrogant way, but in a prideful name. That Dean, you're an Oliver, you're a grandson Oliver, my dad Russell, you're Russell Oliver. That means something. And instilling that belief, although I wish he taught me more about business where I didn't have to learn from other people, but that's typical with family, but we'll get on that topic, is that be prideful of who you are and where you came from, regardless of your story. Everyone's got challenges, adversity in their life, but be proud of your story, be proud of who you are. And I think that instilled to us. And I wasn't the best sportsman, I wasn't the best academic, but I always strive to try to be the best. And when I did eventually find my niche, I was the best. But if I never had self-belief and I wasn't told I am important and I am valuable to life and my name means something, you're not going to have that self-belief. And I think that's a lot lacking with young people nowadays, because a lot of people face a lot of challenges nowadays, but they don't have self-belief because they may not have a family member that has been successful, achieved something. But at least if your parents or you have a family support system that tells you you are good enough, you can do something, that means a lot. That's nice. So also, and he always said that no matter what age you die, when you die one day, you must lay your head on the pillow and die and be proud of who you are. And that kind of inspires me. So I like that.
So whatever age you die, when you die a proud man.
Yes. We all make mistakes. We're all going to do stupid things and good things. But you must be proud of who you are at that stage of your life when you do eventually go.
I'm beginning to wonder how that has affected your way of doing things throughout your life. Even when you faced adversity or faced situations where business or deals were not going according to the way you wanted them to go. Career wasn't going the way, I'm sure your career wasn't exactly perfect. How did that help you navigate, especially through life?
It's a mindset. Like if you look at all successful people, the truly successful people and the people that sustain success are the people that have failed or faced a huge challenge or come back or taken a knock and they come back stronger. It's having that mental strength. And I don't think you're born with that mental strength. And I know that may be controversial because
you're not born with the mental strength?
I believe you're taught. I believe it's nurture. The resilience you see in a family member or your group of friends or how you taught through challenges and that. Like we actually spoke briefly before the podcast around the idea around when parents are well off. Is it good to give them the world because you have all the financial means to give them a great life? Or do you have them struggle to learn that adversity so they gain character and stuff like that?
Sure, geez. Guys, if you're hearing noise, we are recording at our office, but there's a bit of construction that is happening. So if you hear that there's a bit of noise in the background, just don't mind it. Just know that we're in the middle of some construction that is taking place.
It's not the cogs in our brains, Rick.
Exactly. You know, people would be thinking, what are these guys doing? But you started your career in IT.
Yes.
And transitioned into being a property investor.
Yes.
Is it because you've always known property to be something that you will eventually do? Or is it something that actually happened in your career accidentally?
So I love IT. I still love IT. I love using my brain. And the nice thing about IT, especially in software development, there's a new challenge every day. It's not mundane. And the property side was, I was taught one valuable lesson from my dad is that whatever you earn, your whole salary is not yours. So for argument's sake, let's say you earn 10,000 Rand after tax, you actually only earn 6,000 Rand. That 4 disappears. Whether it's in a savings account, an investment account, you earn 6. You always earn 20 or 30% less than what you actually earn. And through that mindset, I grew my career and I pushed and I got quite high up in IT. And I realized my cost of living pretty much stayed the same. Minor discrepancies because I had increased the buffer as I earned a greater and greater salary. And what I thought about, okay, with this extra disposable income, what do I do? Do I just put it in a fixed deposit account? Do I put it in the S&P 500? Do I put it in a 5-year term? And I'm like, for 10, 12% interest, there's got to be more to life. I've got to do something more. So my parents are entrepreneurs. My grandfather was an entrepreneur. But I always look to business of like replicating what I have, starting another IT company myself. But then I'm like, okay, I've got an 8-9 hour job. Now I'm going to have another 8-9 hour job. And I was like, what is a bit more passive where it's not going to take 8 hours of my life every day? And what does every wealthy person have in common? Real estate. I was like, okay, cool. But there's a long story there. I thought, okay, real estate, lekker, you buy a property, you'll just make money and passively. So we'll get into strategies and stuff just now. But I realized that property, because it's passive, it's not a 9-hour job every day once the asset's working for itself. Obviously, you have the odd days in that, but it allowed me to maintain the full-time job that I do love, but give myself an opportunity to make a play at being wealthier younger. Because I still have an RA, I've got a nice pension in it, but I don't want to retire at 65 and start living at 65 and stuff like that. I want to start living now. I also want to live where I love RT, but I'm in RT because it's a choice. It's not because of survival. It's not because I need to pay expenses. I should have the money, but I should choose. And it's amazing when you start creating more independence and choice financially, you start loving things more. You start having more passion.
So you're saying the more you create financial freedom for yourself around the industry that you're in, you start to love it more because you're not forced to be in it.
Yes.
You choose to be in it.
Yes.
And which is what you chose at the time, right? But part of that financial freedom was created when you stepped into investing in property.
Yes.
And what were the challenges that you faced then when you had that shift from IT to property? Like you said, IT is not mundane, it's challenging. Property, on the other hand, can be mundane. So it's a combination of two things that are totally different if people don't understand.
Yeah, so what I did learn is that every industry is the same in a way. How strange is that? So why I say that is property, you've got to manage a team. You've got to have a power team. In IT, you've got to have a power team. IT, you have deadlines. In property, you sometimes have deadlines. You automate things in RT to streamline processes. You automate things in property to streamline processes, to create more time or spend less on operational expenses. You creative in RT where you're solving problems. How creative do you have to be when all your geysers burst in a building and stuff like that? Or dealing with the municipalities. You've got to building relationships, creating effective relationships, networking in RT, in insurance, in property, in any industry. There's a lot of core fundamentals that you share across these industries.
Do you think
property
you would have...
is just a vehicle? But I will, sorry, just to add answer on your question is the biggest shift though, that was a change was mindset. That was a big shift.
A mindset shift.
In property though.
So okay, then what was the cause of that mindset shift? You just said every industry is related to the other, right? So
in skills. In core
right?
skills. Yeah.
In core skills, right? So, but in IT, there's a certain level of mindset you have to apply to achieve certain things, right? And you are saying with property, there was a shift in mindset. Was it a shift from the IT mindset? If so, what was it? And to the property side, and what sort of mindset was then applied there?
Yeah, so maybe let me rather not say property specific, but owning my own property business or owning my own business. That was the big shift.
So you now doing your own thing?
Yes. How do I do my own thing? Everything's reliant on me. You're not trading time for money. That's the biggest thing. You don't have that finite where if I work exactly 8 hours, 5 days a week, that's 40 hours a week by the 21 working days, I will earn X. If I do a good job and I work some overtime, I show value, I may get a 6% increase. It's so finite where your own business, it's not just about the hours you put in because it's the value you add. How innovative are you? How do you see opportunities? You reap most of the rewards. And even initially as a fellow entrepreneur, you also know, funny enough, even when your business does well, you actually don't live off the money. You actually don't enjoy the money because your business is this infant, this child that grows into a teenager, and you actually want to keep reinvesting in it because you want it to grow further. So it's that whole mindset shift that changes. You're not working, you're not quantifying your value. and what you're financially worth by the hours you work day to day.
So the value is quantified by the level of growth you're willing to put into the child, so to say,
Yes.
which is the business or the property portfolio,
Yes.
right? You are retrenched after 16 years of working,
Yes.
right? And after you were retrenched, you started with two cash flow positive properties.
So I started the property business during COVID.
During
It's
COVID.
left,
Were you
I
already retrenched?
I was
at the
working.
time?
I was still working.
Yeah.
And I did see a lot of my friends and that get retrenched. And it made me think, like, even a job like mine in IT, a highly demand job, I'm highly skilled, I've got a lot of experience, I could also lose my job. So it was the combination of earning quite a good salary and having a bit left over, not maintaining my same living expenses for the last 8 to 10 years, but also what if I lost everything tomorrow? Do I have a choice? No. I have to go look for another job. If I have lost my job, my bargaining power may be less if it gets out in the industry, so I may earn less. No matter how loyal you are to a company, they can drop you like that. And I've always been a strong-willed individual where I like to be in control of my path and journey and the way I do things. And I did think that if I lost everything, I'd be screwed. So I got those 2 properties in 2020, and then I refined my skills in that. But I got retrenched the start of this year.
Right.
So, but now if I never had that,
sure. So you started the property business, so to say, in 2020, but it was a cash flow negative
initially, for the first year.
And you then turned it into cash flow positive business. So what strategies did you apply there to do that?
So again, before I go into property strategies, I use the strategies that I learned in corporate. The importance of building relationships, the importance of surrounding yourselves with the smartest people in the room, the people that are better than you in the sense that they know more than you. And that's what I did, because that's what I applied in IT. That's why I say a lot of industries overlap each other by core principles. Although you're dealing with brick and mortar, if you don't have people you trust, or you can't lean on mentors or people that are smarter than you in a room, you won't grow, you won't do well. It's not just about the physical skill of the industry. So based on that, I reached out to people in the industry who would be willing to mentor me and guide me. Obviously, you get random emails, a lot of people reject you, but then the odd few individuals said, I'll teach you, I'll help you, I'll give you guidance. And being in IT, I'm a very thorough person. I like to learn, I like to analyze, and it helped me understand the strategies, what the successful guys were doing. And then honestly, my wealth personality type, my entrepreneurial type is actually to copy. I'm a great copier. That's what I do. I don't invent, I don't create cool products. I copy the good guys and I do it better, either as good or better. That's my strength. That's all I do. At the end of the day, being successful or creating financial freedom or money doesn't have to be sexy. As long as you're creating it, that's what's important. You don't have to have the next. I think that's good advice for junior listeners is you don't have to come up with a crazy new idea to reinvent the wheel. Or you don't need to have shiny new shoes like some entrepreneurs tried and failed, but we won't get into that. You sometimes can just take an idea that's tried and tested, that a lot of people have become successful at, and just do it as well as them.
Yeah.
That's all
So that worked for you in property, building relationships, getting the right people around you, right? But then you're able to turn this deal around. Was that then the wake-up call to say, perhaps this is something I should be doing?
Yeah, I found as I was gaining more and more knowledge and the deals were better and better, and it was actually growing into something quite big, I was like, okay, I've got some talent with this. Not with property, but with creating businesses and scaling.
Yeah.
And property is the vehicle.
Yeah. And that speaks to being able to turn around a business, right? Because if that was a cash flow negative deal and you're able to take the very same deal and now turn it to be a cash flow positive deal, it means you've turned the business around.
Yes.
In shorter ways.
And in RT, when projects are behind or you consult and you come on some clients and you fix their systems, that's turning things around.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of core principles across various things.
So the application of that, did that form part of now you having some sort of strategy that says, I buy it, it's in trouble, and then I'll turn it around because I know how to do that. I've done it before.
Rinse and repeat. Yeah, copy and repeat. So if we're talking now, the physical strategies I do rent to rent for Airbnb, purely to increase cash flow to buy bigger buildings. I do refinance, refurb, rent out that thing. I buy properties well below market value, make sure they got cash flow from day one. Obviously, as an exit strategy, if the deal does go south, I can at least sell the property at market. So your common property strategies, which I'm sure you've heard a lot on other property guys that you speak to on your podcast.
I think more than anything, you know how you say you can apply strategies across industries? For me, it's even, although you can apply strategies across industries, one industry will always be unique and different from the other.
Yes.
Despite the strategy.
No, you learn. No, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think principles is the key thing. I think a property strategy is specific to property, obviously, but it's the core principles across industries, like connecting with people, the way you turn things around, run a business, the way you deal with people and a team, the way you connect with others. That's across most industries. Well, actually all industries. But yes, the specific strategies, that's where those key people, the people that are smarter than you in the room, teach you those things, those specific nuances to that particular industry. Because I like to believe I'm a relatively smart guy. I could go and just, this flat in Santon looks awesome. Let me pay full price and buy it. And I've got real estate. This works. But I'm losing 12,000, 20,000 Rand every month. And by the time it's paid off, I'm going to have an extra 10K every month. That's not financial freedom. Property looks great in that. But speaking to the people that are experts in the industry, they teach you, buy the low income properties. Most people in this country, unfortunately, are low income. So you're going to have high demand. Also in low income areas, properties are less favorable because the suburbs have deteriorated. So the value of the property is a lot less. Means the rent. So, but those things you learn from surrounding yourself with the people that do know what's going on. I'm sure if you're a smart person, you're a hardworking person, you'll eventually figure it out. But we only have one life. You can't wait 10, 20 years and make these mistakes. Sometimes you can make such a mistake learning by buying a property that it knocks you out the game for 20 years.
Yeah.
Then what? So I think the right people, surrounding yourself with the right people, short circuits that. It gives you a shortcut, growing faster.
So a lot of people think you need to buy the property in order for you to do Airbnb. Is that true?
No, I wouldn't buy.
You wouldn't buy?
No. So everyone's got their different views about Airbnb. I personally believe Airbnb is going to be heavily regulated in the next 3 to 5 years. Just because it's taking away a lot of homes from family people. It's overly inflating rentals for long-term renters. It's an overly saturated market. We are in quite a bubble. You can see, I think New York and Barcelona have banned Airbnbs in certain areas and that. So Airbnb to me is not a long-term strategy. Someone will say in the comments, yeah, but you don't own the asset. You have to own the asset. It's your equity.
You want the cash.
You want the cash. So, but I use the Airbnb. I think if you're using rent-to-rent Airbnbs as a kitty to just have an extra bit of money to go buy a new car or stuff like that, I think that's stupid. I use them as cash flow generating machines to increase my affordability to go and buy the asset, to go and buy the nice low income block of flats or building, because then I own that asset and I keep that asset. And then because it's a rental, if regulation comes into like Cape Town where there's a lot of Airbnbs, next year it doesn't kill me because I don't have a 20-year bond, but I've got an 8 million Rand property and now the rent won't cover anywhere near the expenses. Now I'm screwed.
Right.
Look, you could see this podcast 5 years from now and there can be egg on my face, but where it doesn't get regulated and it doesn't get to that point. But one thing I've known that's always been throughout history, long-term rentals. Yeah. Airbnb is just, it's a whole
So strategically, it's more of finding your cash flow, finding the space where you can create proper cash flow for yourself without putting up too much money.
Yes.
And then converting that cash flow into deals that are now long-term and are going to produce long-term passive income for you.
Yes.
Yeah. What's the strategy around that?
So I'll get a rent-to-rent deal where I increase my cash flow, which then increases my affordability. So I get a lot of those deals. Then what's the key to buying a property in any country? What's the golden ticket? Affordability.
Yeah.
You just have to prove to the bank that, hey, I can afford to service this loan. You know, once you've got it, you're not living in that property. You've done your research, you've done your calculations, you've got the rent, you know what the rentals are, you know the tenants. They're going to pay for the property itself and then give you additional cash flow. But the banks can't just do that. You can't go to the bank and be like, listen, this property is 3 million, it's generating 100K gross every month and netting about 50 or 40 or whatever. Please give me the bond. You know, look, the 10 tenants are going to pay for this. They'll laugh at you. No, but you can't afford it because your bank statement doesn't say you're getting that amount in every month, disposable. So how do you do that? You find other avenues. My other avenue is rent-to-rent Airbnbs.
Yes.
And then that increases my affordability and my income. And thus the bank says, okay, here's your golden ticket.
But you also have a knack for student accommodation. Is that more on the long-term side of things in terms of converting your cash flow or your income from the Airbnb to assets that are tangible?
Yeah, so I'm more multi-let expert. So I do Airbnb be quite well, but it's more like a thing.
Multi-talented, multi-let, multi-talented, multi-everything.
That is a good topic though, on that, is that I have also learned valuably that you should understand within your industry, you should understand all the strategies, but you must focus on the strategies that suit your personality. That's where you make the most wealth. So like, I know how to flip properties. Will I be good at it? No, because I'm not a creative. I don't see big spaces. I don't see how to convert things to make them valuable. That's not my strength. I like the already multi-let, it's structured in the way where there's subdivided rooms or it's structured into flats and I can rent them out. I then just have to buy them below value or by just refurbishing it a bit where it's going to look nicer.
Right. And when you look at your level of growth and scale for the next couple of years, maybe 5 to 10 years, I mean, you talked about regulation that might happen on the Airbnb side. What do you think your growth rate or your scale rate is going to be when you look at your level of obviously commitment, a work ethic, which I think you do have, and then commitment to the growth?
Yeah, I'm going to disappoint you because it's not going to be an exact answer. So I'm going to give the politician answer. So
I knew that was coming. We chatted a bit before the podcast, right?
So you knew. I was buttering you up. I was warming you up for this. See, even adjusting in the seat. It's getting hot in here. Let's crank up that aircon. But if someone told me I'd even be talking to you witness 4.5 years ago, I would like, who's witness, first of all?
Yeah.
2, a podcast. What the hell do I want to go talk on YouTube for? Like, I wouldn't even be here. So even the opportunities to meet the people I have, the stuff I've done, to say I have over 10 properties, and it's mind-blowing. Like, Dina 4 years ago just wanted a cash flow property and an extra 10K and wanted to see if I can build like that. I actually, my mentor laughed at me. Where the first 6 months I met him and he taught me everything he knows and that. He said, what is your goal? What you want? And it's funny when you start out, you find out. But when you learn and you grow and you do start becoming successful, the possibilities are infinite. So back then when I spoke to him within the first 6 months, I said, sure, I'd love an extra 50K cash flow. Like that would be amazing. Like that, I know I can only get it like 10, 15 years from now, but that's what I want. And then I'll stop. And now I laugh at that. It's like, now, fortunately, through working hard, structuring things correctly, surrounding myself with the right people and knowing the strategies, I've far surpassed that. But now it's like, I don't know. I actually don't know where I'll be a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. But what I can tell you is I will be moving forward. I will be better. I may not always be financially better, but I will be better as a person. I would have grown. Yeah. I've grown. I'm not the same person I was 4 years ago.
You mentioned people a lot and the people you've networked with, your coaches, your mentors. What does these words mean to you? Relationships are capital. What does it mean to you?
It's everything. You cannot be successful on your own and you cannot enjoy success on your own. It's like you can have all the money in the world and you can have success. If you don't have a wonderful partner to share it with or family that cares.
Yeah, I don't have a partner and I'm enjoying my man. What are you saying? I'm kidding.
You must be. Okay, well, maybe you're enjoying it with a lot of partners, but you're enjoying it. So, yeah, you won't have me being controversial. So, yeah, some of us like multiple partners to enjoy money. But I'm sure if you didn't have, whatever. If you didn't have siblings, you're a good-looking guy. Okay. If you didn't have siblings or that or family, it's emptiness. Or even people you work with, working alone. When you start out, entrepreneurship can be very lonely.
It's a lonely journey. It's a lonely journey when you're alone.
Even with the multiple partners, you working with the people you work with and the people in this room, they become your friends. They become your family as well, and it's exciting.
Yeah,
they also challenge you on things and make you think about things. I do everything for people. So I am introverted, but I love people. I do love people. And because life, we put on this earth to connect and create relationships. Without that, what's the point of civilization? Without being too philosophical and changing it. Yeah. This is not a Jordan Peterson podcast.
What's the point of civilization? But I like that. Because then it begs the question. If you are not here to build the stuff that you are building in order for you to enjoy with the people that you are connected to, then what's the point?
Exactly.
It is true. What's the point?
I can have, let's say I get a beautiful place in Camps Bay.
You're not going to enjoy it alone.
I'm there by myself. Or maybe you'll bring your friends. But I won't enjoy it without sharing it with someone.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. And I think why also real estate speaks to me is it's very rewarding. There's a lot of, and this irritates me, and you'll see it on some of my social media stuff where you do see it, is that I cannot stand slumlords. I cannot stand people that provide homes to people, but they don't maintain the property and the property looks like shit. And people live like animals. It's disgusting. And I like that, yes, most of my investments are the low income space, but I treat them as if they high-class citizens.
As if you're going to stay there one day.
Yes.
You build it as though you're going to stay there.
And that's a lesson if you're a landlord and you are doing well and you're doing well in property and you're like, oh, I want to keep more of the profit. I don't want to renovate the roof after 5 years. One, it's going to end up costing a lot more when it does collapse.
More money, yeah.
Two, it's unethical. It's wrong. It's not. Tenants, it's that broken window philosophy. You take a street, you have a broken window. Now the lawn's not kept on the street. Now the walls start peeling. My buildings look the nicest in every area, but it's amazing. If you give people something to be proud of, they'll be proud and they'll take care and they'll feel like they're letting you down. All our tenants pay. They all pay because they know we treat them like gold. It's not just, I think we get so into the numbers and so into the business and the processes that make sure you've got an A or B credit record on TPN. Make sure yes, that's the fundamentals. But you also got to know, once you've got the tenant in there, they're going to treat your place like shit if you treat them like shit and you don't maintain their place and you're not attentive to their issues. They are your clients. And don't be a slumlord. That's the big thing. And I think because we good to our tenants and we're providing good homes, it's a rewarding job.
So if you were given an opportunity to do it all over again in terms of your career, at what point would you start working for yourself?
It's hard to say because you know what you don't know, right? It's I'm very blessed. I've had challenges, but I'm very blessed the way things have worked out. If I look to the past, I can never move forward. So I wouldn't change a thing, to be honest, because I'm right now talking to you because of the many mistakes I've made. Yes, I only woke up in my 30s, but sometimes when you're young, you're not exposed to certain things. You're unaware of certain things. I'd maybe say, I wish I read more.
Growing up, I always thought all white people know something about property.
No, we don't.
I kid you not. Like, I always believed that as long as someone is white, you thought that as well, right? That as long as someone is white, they probably know about property from the time they're 18. In fact, I thought your parents bought you an apartment at 18 or something.
No. And I thank my parents for that. I used to be upset with them because I've got very fortunate friends because I did go to a very good school. And that is that I wanted what they wanted. Why do they get a car when they're 18? Why do they get this when they're 21 and that? And I thought, oh, parents don't love me, or why are they being so full of rubbish? But no, it's like, maybe it's a white kid thing, I don't know. But there is sometimes a bit of entitlement that gets created, which is wrong. And because I had to work for every cent I have, you value it more. You have hunger. You take away hunger from someone and you make life easy for them, they actually have a very hard life. Where if you have a hard life, you actually can come up on
Do you
top.
think then, like that, you talked about entitlement, entitlement that we have as a people, you could be white or black. I mean, entitlement is entitlement, right? Creates some sort of hard life for the people that are entitled?
Well, you think you deserve it just because of you. You're not willing to put in the work. You're not willing to learn. It's like a victim mentality. Why me?
Entitlement is like a victim mentality. I expand that statement.
Well, if I'm not willing to take action to do anything about my circumstances, but complain about it, am I a victim?
Of course you are.
A victim doesn't have control. A victim can't change the narrative.
And the entitlement part, how does it tie in with that?
Well, entitlement, you deserve something. You think you deserve something.
Yeah, I'm entitled.
So there's no action. It should just be given to you.
Right. And it's not given.
Yes, I don't like believing in being away or surrounding myself around people that are not willing to change or take action or change the way they do things.
Yeah, but with you, have you always had that, or you did say you've always had that mindset because you're a grandfather?
Yes.
Right? So if you were to be put in a space where people are saying, but I'm not as fortunate as you have been to have a grandfather who can teach and impart knowledge, what sort of things do you think you would say to that person to shift their mindset to go the right direction?
Well, all successful people, they became successful also because they had someone that had an impact on their lives.
For sure.
So it's not necessary for me. It was fortunate where it's my grandfather and my father taught me about finances. But it can be a podcast you watch. It can be someone you admire. It can be a book. It can be Robert Kiyosaki just changing your mindset about how to think about money. It can be a friend, surrounding yourself with the right friends, the right people. Reaching out on LinkedIn, being that awkward person sliding into some CEO's DM and asking for advice. Most will tell you to go away in a nice
I'm
way.
surprised you're saying Robert Kiyosaki because you haven't attended his events in 15 years.
Well, I don't want to say why. But look, his principles are excellent. His book is excellent. His mindset around money is excellent. His view on cryptocurrencies and his salesy conferences are not. But if you don't have the network or people around you or anyone that you can surround yourself around to get this, get it from media that is trusted and information that is trusted.
Yeah, so it's basically about channeling your effort towards things that are going to give themselves back to you. So if you're giving yourself to a good book,
yes,
that book is giving itself back to you in terms of what you're learning from it and what you can apply, right?
Oh.
And then a good podcast or a good conversation is actually meant to drive you to a certain destination.
Yes, and that's how you figure it out, right?
So with this conversation between me and you, in your mind, where do you want our viewers to be driven to? What place do you want them to arrive to after listening to this conversation?
Be inquisitive, have a thirst for knowledge, want to learn more, but start making their own decisions. You want, if anything you get out of this episode, can I call it an episode?
It's an episode.
I'll be honest, I don't even know where to look. Yeah. I should lock eyes with you like a long lost love, or I should look there.
Yeah.
Is that if there's one takeaway you get out of this, is that at the end of this, you take action, you do something about your life. You don't become a passenger where you allow others to dictate your future and your life, and you don't complain or be a victim about your circumstances. Everyone has circumstances. Everyone has a degree of adversity, some worse than others. Some do have a head start, some don't. Sorry to say, that is life. I'm going to piss off some people, but that is life. You can't control that. You've given the hand that you dealt. But complaining about it isn't going to make you successful. It isn't going to make you have a big impact on others. It isn't going to have an effect on your life. Accept it.
So I can't complain my way into success?
No. You'll complain your way into failure and you'll achieve nothing.
I can't even toy my way into it?
No. Well, maybe like yeah, like it is. There's guys that have been given everything in the world that have done stuff all, and I know some of those people. There's guys have been given the worst hand where they're starting 5 meters behind the start line, and they're miles ahead of me and a lot of other people.
And what has that done for you? I mean, the fact that you've been in different circles, I mean, circles where guys have been given the world, and you've seen guys that come from nothing and build amazing businesses or amazing careers for them. So what does that do to you as a white person growing up in South Africa and experiencing that?
It inspires me. It means anyone's got a chance as long as you surround yourself. It does mean some have to work harder than others or do a bit more, but it means anyone can truly make a success of themselves. I do truly believe that. I was, like I did say, I did go to a private school, St. Martin's. A lot of people from the south of Joburg, hence the accent. Yeah. But what you'll know
expensive private school, guys.
Yes, 100%. And I'm very blessed to have that education. But what a lot of people don't know about that private school is it's not like most private schools in that private school took in a lot of bursaries. So there was such a divide in the school of the type of person where you had very wealthy people, very poor people, white and black.
In the same school?
In the exact same school. Sure. So it humbles you and you realize, and you're all equal. And that's what I love. As St. Martin's, O.R. Tambo went to St. Martin's, Oliver Tambo. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Desmond Tutu did quite a few sermons for it. It was the first private school, first school in South Africa to allow black people in during apartheid. Oh. So you learn a lot about that. Like that was drilled into us.
And I mean that you do business now in areas where I'm sure a lot of your tenants or a lot of your students are black people.
95% of them.
So that exposure that you had, I mean, Steve Jobs talks about connecting the dots, to say if you've been to a certain space, you only realize later that perhaps I needed to have been there for me to be able to do what I'm doing. What does it say to you? I mean, when you look at how your life has turned out in terms of the dots connecting with certain things and even looking at future plans,
Well, it's humbling. It's like you can't go there with an ego as a white guy like this. You realize because they're my clients. My business is 95% of my business is black. People of color. Those are my clients. They need to be happy.
They give you the bread.
They give me the bread. They put food on the table. They put a roof over my head.
And imagine if you are. But you see, this is what makes racism stupid. I mean, you racist to this guy, but you need his 4,000 rands at the end of the month.
But that's what a slumlord doesn't understand. That's what a person who's narrow-minded, who doesn't understand that.
Yeah.
It's the same too, like a lot of landlords neglect, or property investors. When they buy properties, they've already got tenants in. Some buildings already have tenants.
Yeah.
They don't take the time to actually build relationships with the tenants. They just invoice, this is now the new owner. Hi, I'm the new owner. This is how things are going to work. You've got to connect with those people. Not be taken advantage of. Yeah, you don't go too soft where you get taken advantage of. Obviously, a tenant, if they know you, there's a weakness, they'll take advantage. But you go to the ground and you build relationships with them. Like we did when we got the student accommodation that got me the nomination now for Investor of the Year, is that we did a town hall with all the students. We literally said, what are you comfortable? This is what we're about. This is what because we often just think of the deal of the numbers and what it's going to return. We don't realize the legacy tenants, what issues, how they've been treated bad by the previous landlord, or how they may literally, I've seen disgusting things where there's no toilet seat. How do you go to the toilet? It's inhumane. It's disgusting. Just pay fucking 250 Rand as a landlord and fix their toilet. So ironically, when you actually go to the ground and you speak to these people and connect, one, they feel valued because they actually bloody heard for once. Two, their demands that they want you to sort out is actually the most minuscule demands ever, but it means the world to them and it adds the most value to their lives. It's not like you talk to them and like, okay, Dean, please put in a hot tub, jacuzzi. Can you? No, it may be the smallest of things. But because you actually listened and you cared to your client, you listened to your client and you gave them or you sorted something out, they'll always pay because they'll feel like they're letting you down because they can see you care. So why should they not care?
So this is more than just money.
It's more than just money. Money is the nice thing that comes at the end. You've heard it, we've all heard it. You don't chase money. It's 100% right. You chase money, you lose who you are, and you don't actually find true success. Money is the nice byproduct.
So what do you think has been your most memorable deal that you've done that when you look at, you say, I've learned a lot from that deal. I've gotten value out of it. I've given value to people and I've made money.
Probably my first building in the south of Joburg was probably the big one, because even though I went to school there in the deep south and I grew up there, I never lived in the real low income areas. So I didn't realize truly how people lived. Even though I went to school with friends and that, and I've got friends that are well off and I've got friends that aren't well off, I didn't realize how people actually live and how landlords treat people and how things are and how even the smallest of kindness changes a person's day. Like we take for granted, we get upset if the guy at Starbucks gets our coffee order on. That means nothing. Or we get a little upset if the water pressure in our shower isn't as great. Or the Wi-Fi isn't quick enough.
Wi-Fi is a big one, yeah.
That means stuff all. These people just want a toilet seat or they want good running water or that they treated with respect. That was the biggest wake-up call. And walking and being humble and like, yes, this is business and I've bought a nice building and it's going to give a good return. But there's people behind it. It's not a product. We think of the asset of the brick and mortar, but it's not. It's more than that. There's living entities. There's people in these properties. And it becomes your responsibility. You're not just the custodian of the property. You're the custodian of these people in a way, because you have to provide a service. You have to make sure you provide electricity, water. You have to make sure it's compliant. You must make sure that it's decent and it's also safe and it's maintained every 5 years or whatever the case may be. They become your responsibility to that extent, not to find jobs and other, but from as a tenant and the service you provide, that's a serious commitment. You can't sort of do something, do a bit of renovations when you bought the property and then forget about them. One, it's wrong. Then why are you doing this? And two, they're going to see that you're not appreciating. They'll stop paying rent or they'll leave or, like also I've learned to not be so precise with things. It's like also every year you do rental escalations. Sometimes people have tough times, but they're good payers. You don't do rental escalations. Or one lady, she wanted a rental break for 2 months. She's always been excellent. She's never missed a day for 5 years. I said, yes. Does that make good business sense? Probably no. But she'll never forget. She could have ended up on the street. How can I live with myself just because I wanted an extra 10K for 5K rentals? In the greater scheme of things in my business, that's nothing. But she's got a child, she can end up on the street. But now she's paying, and I actually got a 10% escalation with her, and she got a new job. I gave her a chance. So sometimes you look beyond the spreadsheet and your returns. Sometimes you've got to be a little kinder to people. Obviously, you see behavior. You don't get taken advantage of. I'm not saying be taken advantage and give people a free holiday and buy all your tenants Christmas gifts in December. But deal with the human element and it's give and take. And sometimes when you give a little, people appreciate that and they'll be loyal forever. They'll stay at your property forever. And then when it comes to increases, it's never a discussion or a debate. They'll pay because you were kind.
You know what I love about what you're saying and what you said, that in the grand scheme of your business, 5,000 times 2 is nothing, right? And people don't realize this. It's like when you take $100 and you give it to a guy who needs to feed his kids, that's a lot of money to him. It's worth everything. But to you, I mean, it's just $100.
Mm.
You could have even done whatever with it. It's not really something that plays a large role. But to him, and that's what people don't understand when it comes to value creation, right?
Yeah.
With any other business that you're in, to say, what sort of value can you create, but it would be the world for that person, and they're willing to pay for that world.
Mm.
And it sounds like that's exactly what you're doing with your business, to say, how can I make this room, this yard, this business, the world to the people that stay in it, and they're willing to give the world for it? Because the guy can decide, buy alcohol, pay Dean rent, go clubbing, pay Dean rent. But you know what? I love that guy. I love what he's done for me, for where I live. Let me pay rent.
Exactly.
You-
And it comes down, it actually goes full circle to what I said at the start of the podcast. I want to be proud of who I am and what I do. You can make money also being dodgy and doing certain things and screwing people over, but you got to lay to rest at the end of the night or when you die one day. And if you've been a rubbish, and that what legacy have you left? Can you be proud? You should be proud of yourself. So it's not just about making money, it's about being proud of yourself.
How important is that to one becoming successful? You know, that pride in oneself. How important is it, that pride in one's value systems and beliefs and how they do things?
It's interesting because I think obviously I can't speak from a female perspective, but for a man, legacy means something, whether it's through children, financial, or where we are upstanding in the community. I think that's where the pride comes from. I think in nature, a man wants to leave a legacy. A legacy is important, and the type of legacy we leave. I don't know. Does that make sense?
It does, because, you know, even we talked about hero movies the other day, earlier on, right?
Yeah.
We said there's a guy, he can be beaten up most of the movie, but at the end he wants to win. That's his legacy.
And we love a comeback story.
We love a comeback story, right? And you find guys, they don't realize that movie that they're watching and their life are exactly the same. You want to have a comeback story in your own life. I don't think there's a guy who's waking up and saying, I want my life to be nonsense all my life. At some point, you gotta have a desire to say, I want to turn things around for me. So even if you're not the main cast in your own story, at least be a supporting act in somebody else's. Right?
Exactly. That's still a legacy. That's still an impact. You had a positive influence on someone or many people. That's a legacy.
But people don't get that. They think you always have to be the main guy, right? The main guy. I mean, I have to always be the one that's doing everything. But look at, let's say, ShopRite.
Yeah.
There's Christowies, right? But there's also YT Bason.
Yes.
So, which makes me want to ask you this question. Are you also somewhere, somehow, in the process of building your own Chalimanga, building your own YT Bason in the background, who's going to be working with you in this legacy project?
Are you talking about a partner with that, or just building something like
that? Your mind is always on women.
My beautiful girlfriend's watching that. My mind is not on that. My partner, I mean business partner. Your mind is always
business partner.
There we go. Yeah, there's actually quite a cool story. I'll say more of a personal story. Yeah. On that note, the Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett thing. Not that I think I'm anywhere near that.
Yeah.
But my brother and I, we had a very bad relationship growing up. We never got along. We
younger brother, older brother?
Younger brother. We like pretty much hated each other, which is intense to say, but we never got along at all. And it just got worse and worse. And it actually hit a point just before I started my business where we were at our worst and not talking for like 10 months. And we got into a physical fight. And it was bad in that. And I also said I'll never, ever work with family because my grandfather worked with family, my dad worked with family. Just it creates complications. And I started the property business, like I said, in 2020, built, and I was steadily gaining momentum in that, and I was doing well. My brother came to me out of nowhere. He took money out of his house. He gave me all of it and said, I believe in you. Do you want to, I want to join you and let's grow together.
Jeez.
I know that. Yeah. And that hit me. And I was like, wow. So the fact that he saw what I was doing, and even though we had the past we did, he had such belief in me. And that little bit of money has helped us so much in all these years. And his belief in me has helped me so much. So yeah, that's powerful. That's incredible. That's why, and you see the scent of everything. You haven't seen me get emotional about money or cars or possessions, but just that little thing means more to me than anything we've said thus far.
Sure.
That is why people are so important.
Sure.
So yeah,
and you do echo that, because in the conversation, for you, it's always been about the people and the relationships.
Yes.
And if we were to summarize the entire conversation, would it be fair for us to say your whole ethos is that put the people first?
Yes.
Put the
and
people
surround
first.
yourself with the right people as well.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have, even though we've got different starting points where we start on the start line, surround yourself, like we said, through media or other people, or friends or family. Don't be around the wrong people. I think that's where you can, maybe, even if you're young and inexperienced, you can speed up things and not start at 30 or 40 or 50. Is surround yourself with the right people earlier on in life.
Yeah. So through that camera, there's a young guy sitting at home, as young as you were.
Oh, you said I'm young, so.
I mean, you look young.
Yeah.
But you're still young. I mean, you're 37. So
Yeah.
you're a young guy. Just doing well, extremely well, which I'm proud of.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Likewise.
But you're still young. And you might be black, you might be white, might be Indian, might be Chinese, whatever. It doesn't really matter. What matters is the soul. And he's saying, Dean, I hear you, but you don't know what I'm going through. You don't know how tough life has been on me. What advice would you give to that guy for him to start applying tomorrow and change?
Well, first, I think no one should ever try relate to that person. We don't know. There's some circumstances that some of us may never experience and try relate to. You can't relate to. I don't think it's ever sensitive or the right thing to do. We all dealt different cards. But I would say the first action he does tomorrow, the fact he's on your podcast, and he or she may be going through a lot and but I've got this, Dean, I've heard your struggles, but mine are way worse. Fair enough. But the fact the person's at this podcast, listening to you and watching your videos and a subscriber, it already says they're taking action. Don't beat yourself up. You're taking action, but take that further. Keep being inquisitive, keep learning, keep learning from people. I'm not saying your life will be better tomorrow. I'm not saying it'll be better a year or 5 years from now. But you keep doing the right positive changes, you keep doing the right things, you keep growing and learning as a person, your life will turn around. Everyone's life does. There's no person's life where they do everything in their power to be better or learn or be inquisitive or be the right person, and their whole life's a failure. No one has that. Look, it's Stephen Hawking. Stephen Hawking, completely debilitated with his condition. One of the greatest minds ever, highly respected, left a great legacy. Absolute genius. Yes, we'll never know his struggles. No one will ever have a struggle like that person, like what he had with that. But he's brilliant. He's an absolute brilliant man in what he achieved and did.
Wow. It's getting emotional in the room. I see teary eyes.
And we were going to talk about spreadsheets and property. Eh?
It's more than just money, brother. And you echoed that very well. And I really appreciate you for coming here.
Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you get that award tomorrow.
I hope so.
All the best. All the best. I'll be there. I will be wearing a tuxedo. I won't be wearing what I'm wearing now.
Thank God.
I'll match that.
You're going to match his levels, eh? You're going to match his levels, man.
So guys, please click on that subscribe button, click on that notifications bell. Comment, guys. Let us know where you're watching from. What part of this conversation do you resonate with? And from me and my team broadcasting from Johannesburg, South Africa, it's more than just money. See you in the next episode.